Francois Botha back from Vegas, and what an interesting night. First of all, a few key points here. This is a guy who was #1 far and away, the best fighter in the world in this heavyweight division. Here was a guy losing every single round, every round.
I thought he won the fourth, but
maybe if you want to give him that. One judge did, and just that one out of 12 rounds that were scored. But now also, this is a guy, Francois Botha, who's maybe number 20 or number 30 in the world. The other part is after the fight, Mark Schwartz talked to him, and you saw the first thing that Mike Tyson said is, did I show character? And we'd be ripping him here if he didn't show enough character and he got himself disqualified. So let's give Mike Tyson some credit for sticking with it. I thought he'd get DQ'd. He didn't. He stayed in there long enough to starch this guy with one shot. But now, Max, we've seen a deterioration of skills. Now we're going to see what this man is made of.
Yeah, you know, I know Evander Holyfield was the greater fighter, but in the consciousness of my generation, so-called Generation X, in a larger sense, Mike Tyson was our heavyweight champion. And I remember watching him when I was 13, 14 years old. Tyson was about 20 at the time, tearing through the division, knowing one day Tyson's speed would be gone, the skills would erode, and he would just be a puncher, because the punch is the last thing to leave. And I remember thinking to myself, logically, I know that day is going to have to come, but the day seemed inconceivable when Tyson would actually be this old man. Well, you know what? The day is here. Tyson is gone. He's an old man now. The only thing he has left is his punch. But ironically, the seeds for his redemption, therein lies the seeds for his redemption, because now he's going to have to be the underdog in some fights. Never been the underdog before. Now he's going to have to overcome adversity. If he plans on being called a great fighter, now that he's not good anymore, he has the chance to be called great. If he comes through like Rocky Marciano once did, with determination and his punch, and proves his character, they'll call him great. But it doesn't look good.
Take a look at some highlights now. Mike Tyson, Francois Botha. You can see it if you want to see the whole fight on Showtime, by the way, Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Round one, right away, Max. Dirty tactics. Mike Tyson with the arm bar on Francois Botha, and admitted, yeah, trying to break his arm. Richard Steele did a good job of breaking them up. I didn't think this fight would last. I thought it would be ended very, very soon, maybe after the first round.
Tyson used to bully his opposition with conventional bullying tactics. Then when that failed recently, especially against Holyfield, now against Botha, he resorts to unconventional bullying tactics.
Richard Steele, again, trying to settle things down, having a conversation with the commissioner, the Nevada Athletic Commissioner. That's Mark Ratner. It was a nightmare for Ratner once again, but they continued on. So he escapes a disqualification, did lose a point, but of the 12 rounds scored by the 3 judges, again, only 1 round doesn't go to Botha. This video, by the way, released by Showtime. They're going to show you only so much, not the knockout punch, but it was one shot, a very crisp, short right hand that eventually did in Franz Botha after Botha built up a fairly healthy lead. Look at that little Pernell Whitaker there for you.
Tyson threw one good punch the entire fight, and it happened to be a perfect punch that knocked Botha out.
He talked more than I did.
What did he say?
It's some bad things, real nasty things.
What did you say?
And I said, white boy, I'm gonna kill you.
I was surprised. I really thought this was going to be easy after a while. And, but Mike's got a tremendous power. He's a strong athlete. And, I got careless. And I just walked into the punch.
What do you think you proved tonight?
I don't know. I didn't prove anything. I'm just trying. I'm constantly trying to do well. I have a long way to go, but I've got a new trainer, and we're working on it.
Mike, can I ask you also afterwards, you seemed very upset talking about people assassinating your character. Can you talk about what you meant by that?
Listen, I don't have to explain it. You see it.
Mike, I'm sorry.
I'm not going to answer my trainer say.
All right, well, Mike Tyson, it should be noted, did apologize to Botha after the fight, saying he didn't mean any racial exchanges in that. Let's bring in Teddy Atlas and talk about Mike Tyson a little bit. And Teddy, I don't think I've ever seen a more technically deficient Mike Tyson. I was still surprised. He said he has a long way to go. Can Mike Tyson be saved in the ring?
Well, first of all, guys, you broke new ground when you're actually giving credit to a guy for not going and breaking someone's arm and saying, boy, he showed character because he didn't disqualify himself. But that's a first that I ever heard, that a guy actually gets credit for not being dirty.
Well, he came back. Well, Teddy, now, in fairness, here's a guy who looked like he was going to be disqualified, but he didn't. He did stay in it to give him credit for that.
I got a breaking news bulletin for you, fellas. You're not supposed to do that, so you shouldn't get credit for not doing it. But anyway, so is the world of Mike Tyson. That's part of it. But as far as what he looked like, I'm not jumping on an anti-Tyson bandwagon. I've been on it. I'm going to be consistent with what I've been saying. not against Tyson, just against what he is now and what he is in the ring. He's a guy who's been reduced to a guy with no confidence. He doesn't look to fight inside, which he has to do to be effective at 5'10", at being a fast puncher and being a good puncher. He looks to tie up inside. He looks to put his hands behind the guy. He throws one punch at a time. He can still punch. There's no doubt about it. He still has speed when he does throw. But there's a problem with Tyson now. If he's not allowed to be dirty, and the commission in Vegas showed that they were really ready to not allow him to do anything outside the ring ropes, anything illegal, then what is going to demand the curiosity of the public? What is going to make them buy? It sure as heck isn't going to be his athletic ability, because what you saw is what Tyson has been diminishing to lately.
Teddy, is he shot?
One-punch guy.
Are you saying he's shot then, completely shot?
He's not shot physically. He's shot confidence-wise. Why do you think he grabbed the guy's arm and he did that? For a second there, he got urgent, he got tested, and he got panicky. And for a second there, he was going to do the same thing he did with Holyfield. Get out. He's a guy who has to build his confidence up. After saying that, in all fairness, he got a little bit better as the fight went on. In the 5th round, he loosened up, and he did get a little bit better. The bad news is he did it with Botha, and he was losing every round. And Botha, by the way, Max, is not Muhammad Ali.
Hey, and not only that, Teddy, Botha was outboxing Tyson. It wasn't he was outmuscling, he was outboxing the guy.
Not only outboxing him, who would have ever thought that Botha would get overconfident with Tyson? And that's why he got caught, because he got cocky and he started dropping his hand, and he got through a long right hand, and he got beat with a short right hand. Beautiful punch, but you know what? There's a lot of things that were not beautiful.
All right, Teddy, thank you very much. And my only point in that was that it would be ripping the guy if he said he got disqualified. He didn't get disqualified. Obviously, you're not supposed to break the guy's arm in the ring, and it should be noted, if somewhere along the line, where can he fight a clean fight? But it better be the next fight. What's next for Mike Tyson? April 24th, MGM Grand in Las Vegas against who? We don't know. Axel Schultz, Shannon Briggs, or Lou Savarese. You think it might be Savarese?
Yeah, it could be Savarese. I mean, look, at this point, you ever think it'll get to the point in Tyson's career where they're considering whether they want to fight Lou Savarese? I agree with most of what Teddy said, and I think that Tyson's eventually just going to be a name on guys' records, a big-name opponent.
This is against George Foreman. Lou Savarese actually went toe-to-toe with Foreman, got the better of him. He's a big, strong guy. Hey, he's a great guy. If you know Lou Savarese, right, he's very popular with the writers and the fans. But Lou Savarese was outboxed by George Foreman in that fight in the later rounds. By the way, I talked to Kevin Rooney, former trainer of Mike Tyson, after the bout against Francois Botha. I said, can Tyson be saved? He said, yes. If I trained him, said things weren't right with Tommy Brooks, he could save him. They had negotiations with Shelley Finkel earlier on that did break off, so it hasn't happened yet. But Kevin Rooney is willing, now that the lawsuit has been settled, to get back with Mike Tyson. Who knows if that'll ever happen.
Most recognized.
Mike Tyson is a phenom.
Talked about.
He is a walking powerhouse.
Controversial athlete in the world. Is back.
And both is giving him all he's got. There's fire in Mike Tyson's eye. There's fire. Down goes Botha. Mike Tyson has returned.
It's Tyson versus Botha. Tonight at 10 on Showtime, America's #1 boxing network.
Bob, thank you very much. Some news today on Mike Tyson. Prosecutors in Maryland are seeking jail time for the former heavyweight champion. This according to court documents filed in Maryland. Tyson pled no contest to 2 charges of assault. The prosecution saying Tyson had an unprovoked road rage against 2 men after a minor car accident. Again, prosecutors going for jail time. Sentencing in this case next Friday, February 5th. Now, a few news and notes now. First, let's talk about Mike Tyson. What's next? We're told, sources telling ESPN, that Axel Schultz is back on the short list for an opponent for Mike Tyson if he does not go back to jail with probation, sentencing February 5th as well. Brian Nielsen is on that list. Orlin Norris on the list, and so is Andrew Galata, a dark horse candidate.
Yeah, I think Norris is an interesting pick. If I had Mike Tyson, if I was bringing him along, I think I would say Orlin Norris is good because he doesn't hit hard. He's the type of guy who you learn against, you practice against. He's a very good boxer, has mediocre success against the top flight heavyweights, and he's really a cruiserweight. So good opponent for Tyson to shake some ring rust against.
Tyson, Holyfield, Barton, Lopez.
We're not going to chew your ear off telling you how exciting Death Bowl 99 is going to be. We'll just say that the Battle of the Bulge is on. The rest is up to you. Watch it during halftime of the big game.
Oh, fellas, something doesn't feel right about this one. I smell a fix.
Oh, Lordy, Don King is rich. Ha ha! Don King is rich. I got myself a boatload of money. What the hell?
Deathmatch fans across the world, assume crash positions. Let's get ready to death ball! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Death Bowl 99, the 37th annual running of the world's biggest, most brutal sporting event. I'm Johnny Gomez.
And I'm Nick Diamond. You know, Johnny, Death Bowl comes only once a year, and we've got some incredible presents wrapped up under the Deathmatch tree.
Nick, every death match is big, but the Death Bowl is, there's just no other way to say it, even bigger. People talk about the Super Bowl, the X Games, the Olympics, but when you talk about premier celebrity violence, you're talking Death Bowl. This one's got everything.
So cut the phone cord, smash the remote, and put away any sharp objects. This is Death Bowl 99.
I can't say enough about our first fight. Since the dawn of man, scholars have been debating which is better, the assets of Jennifer Lopez or the endowments of Dolly Parton.
It's a puzzler, Johnny, but we've got two fighters who are spoiling to settle it. Big buttock movie star Jennifer Lopez is going to mix it up with large-breasted country legend Dolly Parton.
And you can't talk about breast without mentioning Madonna. In a rare sports appearance, she's going to give us a halftime show worthy of the Death Bowl.
And when you talk about our main event, you use words like violence, spectacle, and bitter rivalry.
Two great champions, two champion-sized grudges. Iron Mike Tyson and Evander, the real deal Holyfield, go fist to fist for the very last time. A beef this big could only be settled the deathmatch way. And there's lots more celebrity brutality on tap in our main event, as Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield square off for the very last time. Now a word from our sponsor. Welcome back to Death Bowl 99, fight fans. This is already one of the best Death Bowls in years, and we're only halfway home.
Next up, the biggest rivalry in sports will be coming to an end. It's Tyson versus Holyfield. Judgment Day.
But first, we've reached the moment Death Bowl parties across the nation have all been waiting for. Halftime.
So finally made it to tonight's main event. The most anticipated fight in the long history of human violence.
This is the rematch people have been talking about for years. Tyson versus Holyfield. In their last two matchups, Tyson has resorted to desperate measures.
As everybody knows, these two champions have mixed it up before, but something has always gotten in the way before the grudge could finally be settled.
That's right, Nick. About 1 million state laws.
It's time to put the death in Death Bowl.
Introducing the Holy Man from Atlanta, the world heavyweight champion, Evander, the real deal Holyfield. And his opponent, the former heavyweight champion, and ex-resident of the Indiana State Prison, Brooklyn's favorite hothead, Iron Mike Tyson.
Okay, you two, this is a celebrity deathmatch. We don't have no fancy commission, and we ain't got no rules. So let's get it on.
Hey, Evander, can I have your autograph?
Sure, let me get a pen.
Holyfield's Achilles heel as a deathmatch competitor. He's too trusting.
1, 2,
7, 8,
9, 10.
I'm the world champion. I'm the world champion.
That's it? Frankly, I really expected this one to go a little longer, Nick.
Not the sense of closure we were looking for, Johnny.
I'm Evander Holyfield, and I'm stupid.
A cruel taunt from Mike Tyson, Nick.
Words, the most dangerous weapon of all.
Looks like we're taking this one on the road.
Just like the old days, eh, Johnny?
Give me back my belt, you cheating coward.
Good rear-end collision by Mike Tyson.
Look out! Tyson has just sent them both dumpster diving.
That bottle should never have been in there. That's a recyclable.
You gotta think globally and act locally. Our world is our most precious resource.
Power to the people, Johnny.
Hey, Evander, your sneaker was bleeding.
Oh! It's gonna take more than a boot to the head to stop Evander Holyfield.
Get out of my bedroom!
Honey, they're from the Death Bowl.
Evander Holyfield's got the heart of a warrior.
And the bedpost of a total stranger.
What's Tyson doing now?
Hey, Evander, it's for you.
Hello? Hello?
When you're Tyson size, you've always got an emergency exit.
Oh, what a move. I guess Tyson likes Holyfield shaken, not stirred, eh, Nick? Nick?
You know, I haven't been with a woman for 3 years.
Hey, Evander, look, you're on TV. Say hello.
Hello? Hello? Oh, my God, that's a $5,000 video camera.
It'll take more than a video camera to stop Evander Holyfield.
I'll tell you, Nick, there is no love lost on that elevator.
Next stop, grievous bodily harm.
How much longer can this go on?
My guess is about 1 minute and 22 seconds.
I think you need some air, Evander.
It'll take more than a ventilation duct to stop Evander Holyfield.
Holyfield has Tyson right where he wants him. But wait, what's Tyson up to now?
Hey, Evander, look. I can see your house. Your wife wants you. She looks pretty sore.
Where? Let me see, let me see.
Maybe you need a closer look.
Oh, man, a licensed demolition team. Look out, people. Get out of the way. Oh, my God.
Looks like the reigning champion is Mike Tyson.
What do you mean, Nick?
Well, he's reigning all over the sidewalk.
And the winner is Evander Holyfield.
An amazing finish. Holyfield takes out the former heavyweight champ and clears the way for a fantastic new low-income housing project.
Until that building crumbled beneath him, I had Mike Tyson ahead on points, Johnny.
Yet another incredible death bowl has been flushed here tonight.
Until next time, I'm Nick Diamond.
And I'm Johnny Gomez saying, good fight, good night.
For CNN Headlines, sports, I'm Russell Bivin. Iron Mike Tyson is getting set for yet another battle outside the ring. The former heavyweight champion is scheduled to be sentenced today on 2 counts of second-degree assault stemming from an incident in August. The sentence could help decide whether Tyson goes back to jail for violating probation on his 1992 rape conviction.
Often portrayed himself as a prisoner in his own world, may become a prisoner in our world once again. Mike Tyson returns to the Montgomery County Courthouse in Maryland to find out if he will be going back to jail. It all stems from the no-contest plea he submitted in relation to a 6-month-old traffic altercation that left 2 motorists allegedly beaten up. Charlie Steiner ruminates on the latest stop on Tyson's long, strange trip.
It was here, at this reform school in upstate New York, where Mike Tyson first learned how to box after seeking out a security guard there named Bobby Stewart.
He said, I want to become a fighter. I said, so the rest of these guys. So the rest of these guys, they all talk. It's a lot of talk and stuff like that. He said, I don't know, I'm serious. I said, well, I'm serious too. Let's see your behavior change the next couple weeks.
Almost 20 years have come and gone since then, and those who have watched him grow wonder how or if Mike Tyson's behavior will ever change. But that is part of the reason why Tyson is the biggest box office attraction in boxing history.
That's really what it's about. Tyson hasn't been an athlete. Tyson's been an event, one event after another.
It isn't only the memory of the fighter that Tyson once was or has become. It is the often surreal public soap opera that is Mike Tyson's life, that has erratically wandered from the sports pages to the gossip columns to the police blotter. It was 9 years ago when Tyson told me almost prophetically,
I believe a lot of people want to see me self-destruct. They want to see me one day with handcuffs and walking in the police cars. People, they would love to see, look, this is what I told you. I told you he's headed for that. I told you he's headed for that.
And that was a year before Mike Tyson would meet a woman named Desiree Washington. Tyson's life has been one chaotic chapter after another, becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history, occasionally taking his fist-fighting prowess to the streets. marrying and divorcing a Hollywood starlet who would, within a year, claim on national television as he sat next to her that he beat her up, often. All the while, inside the ring, Tyson's once considerable skills were eroding. Despite losing to a journeyman fighter named Buster Douglas, 2 less than stellar performances against a flawed fighter named Razor Ruddock, and 3 years in prison, Mike Tyson remained a public fascination. His pre-dawn release from prison was televised live around the world. His first fight after prison against a hopelessly overmatched and outclassed opponent, while an artistic failure, was a box office bonanza. 15 months later, Tyson would be so badly beaten by Evander Holyfield, the referee would have to stop that fight. 7 months after that, and it was only a year and a half ago, the moment that will never be forgotten, causing his banishment from boxing. During the ban, Tyson wrecked his motorcycle, injuring only himself, breaking a rib. And then last August, after becoming involved in a minor fender bender in Maryland, Tyson beat up 2 motorists, a 52-year-old man who was punched in the jaw and a 60-year-old man who was kicked in the groin. After an out-of-court civil settlement and a no-contest plea agreement, Tyson is back at a Maryland courtroom on Friday, where a judge, based on the recommendation of the Montgomery County State's Attorney, could send Tyson back behind bars, where he first learned his trade that would eventually put him under the often harsh glare of the public spotlight that has burned Mike Tyson as often as not.
If I go back to prison, it's listen, what? I'm just another nigga in prison. What? I'm not going to be no one. What's going to happen? I'm a man going to prison.
Well, Mike Tyson's court battle is underway. The former heavyweight champion is scheduled to be sentenced on 2 counts of second-degree assault stemming from an incident in August. The sentence could decide if Iron Mike goes back to jail for violating probation on his 1992 rape conviction.
Rob Tickton, CNN Headline Sports. Mike Tyson is headed back to jail. The former heavyweight champ was sentenced to a year behind bars for assaulting a motorist in August. The troubled boxer has 30 days to appeal the ruling. If the decision is not overturned, Tyson might face additional jail time in the state of Indiana, where he is still on probation for a 1992 rape conviction.
Iron Mike Tyson will once again be behind bars. The 32-year-old former heavyweight boxing champion was sentenced to 1 year in jail for assaulting 2 motorists after a traffic infraction.
When you're an adult, you have to learn to respond as an adult. To not just call yourself expressing your feeling anytime you want and what you want to say, because people hold it against you.
Mike Tyson was back in a jail cell Friday night, sentenced to 2 concurrent 2-year jail terms, although all but one of those years was suspended, citing what he saw as potentially lethal road rage. A Maryland judge sent Tyson to jail for assaulting 2 men after a fender bender last August. For more on Tyson's day in court, here's Melissa Stark.
Mike Tyson arrived in court Friday with a smile on his face as his lawyers prepared to ask Judge Stephen Johnson for a sentence of community service to, quote, use Tyson like a tool in the community, unquote, and to stress that imposing even a 1-day jail sentence would be like imposing a life sentence. 4 hours later, Tyson left the courthouse in handcuffs.
The prosecution in this case doggedly pursued this. It just, you know, he wants to put one in his column. I got a celebrity. I'm making a point.
What makes this case different than other cases is the fact that Mike Tyson is a public figure. And because he's a public figure, we had access to what, as the judge referred to, what his soul really is. And in his soul, we presented hundreds of pages of documents suggesting, as he said in his own words, that he's a time bomb about to tick.
Michael was on the comeback. He was making an effort to turn things around, and he'd done a very good job of it. He has a very strong family network supporting him. And this is admittedly a setback.
Witnesses testified on Tyson's behalf that he was finally rebuilding his life, attending counseling on a weekly basis. The 2 victims in the case, who settled with Tyson out of court, testified they did not want Tyson to go to jail, just continue counseling. Mike said that if he goes to jail, he loses everything. Does he lose everything right now?
I believe he does, yes. I believe that he'll be in a hole so deep that he can't possibly get out.
He could become heavyweight champion of the world again. he'll have plenty of opportunity. I'm sure people will pay him a lot of money. He gets $25 million every day he goes to work, and he could do that in the future, and I'm sure he will.
Tyson was booked at the Montgomery County Detention Center with no bond allowed, which means he'll stay there at least through the weekend. His lawyers plan to appeal on Monday, hoping for a hearing with a different judge and a different outcome. In Rockville, Maryland, Melissa Stark, ESPN.
Now, this obviously puts a large crimp in Tyson's comeback. He was scheduled to fight again on April 24th in Las Vegas. His Nevada boxing license could be revoked because of this latest development. And what does the boxing community think of Tyson's latest troubles? Let's have a listen.
It's an unfortunate incident. You know, I thought that the kid, you know, they settled it out of court. That's where they should have left it. I mean, you know, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't comment on it.
Sometimes you put yourself in situations, and just unfortunately, you put yourself in a situation in which brought judgment from someone else.
I think most of the people in the boxing industry and those of us covering it figured there was about a 50-50 chance that Mike Tyson could get jail time, and yet I think in the back of our minds, most of us didn't think it was going to happen. So I'm a little bit surprised, and most of the boxing people that I have talked to in the last several hours are also surprised.
If he done something drastic, I could see, you know, then. But, you know, stop pounding on it, man. You know, you're always trying to put him behind bars. Won't you we might with just tear down Mount Rushmore, because I was looking forward to seeing the kid fight in April. Now I have to wait another year. You know, you're taking a year away from the man's life. Let the man live his life and move on.
It doesn't end there for Tyson. Indiana authorities now have to decide whether he violated his probation from a 1991 rape conviction. If they find that he did, Tyson may also have to serve jail time in Indiana.
Stemming from an August traffic accident has landed Mike Tyson in a jail. The former champion had pleaded guilty to 2 charges of second-degree assault. Friday, Judge Stephen Johnson handed down the 1-year jail sentence. Our Mark Morgan takes us through Friday's events in Rockville, Maryland.
A stunned Mike Tyson left the Montgomery County Courthouse in handcuffs Friday following District Judge Stephen Johnson's sentencing. Tyson's lawyers and attorneys for the 2 men he allegedly assaulted spent almost 2 hours describing Tyson as a man who was getting his life back on track. But the prosecution emphasized that Tyson should be treated the same as any person off the street who had pleaded no contest to these charges.
What we've been trying to do in this case is not to evaluate it any differently because it is Michael Tyson than any other case. Just to look at the facts, look at the victim's interests, look at the state's interests, look at Mr. Tyson's criminal history and life situation, and be fair to him as well as the community.
Tyson had entered the no contest plea with former prosecutor Robert Dean, who had said he would recommend no jail time. But Dean's successor, Doug Gansler, wanted Tyson behind bars and wrote a memo to the judge calling Tyson, quote, nothing less than a time bomb.
He gets paid to assault people that he does know or that they agree to get assaulted. In this particular case, these people did not agree to get assaulted. It was a minor accident.
Toward the end of the proceedings, the judge read aloud a letter Tyson had written to him, in which Tyson said jail would mean I would lose everything. Announcing his decision, the judge said the lingering image of Tyson is that of a violent, angry man who acts and speaks compulsively and violently.
Mike's never been a threat to the community. Mike's a very sweet, very sensitive, very giving person. Nobody, you guys don't know that because you guys have all been told lies by people profiting at Mike's expense. And now look at the cost.
The main thing was that in all the hundreds and thousands of cases we handle where people with similar serious criminal backgrounds, serious allegations of violence come into this courthouse, many, many, many of them, the majority of them, leave here to some form of incarceration.
Tyson and his lawyers have 30 days to appeal, but most importantly, a judge in Indiana must now decide if Tyson's jail term here violates the probation of his 1992 rape conviction, which was scheduled to end next month. It appears boxing's biggest attraction may never fight again. In Rockville, Maryland, I'm Mark Morgan.
Thank you, Mark. Word out of Indiana is this. State Attorney General Jeff Modisette was surprised by the ruling, but said there was a greater likelihood Tyson's probation will be revoked. Tyson could receive up to 3 more years of jail time, which would complete his original sentence on the rape conviction. Tyson's probation was set to expire in March, and Tyson's comeback fights may have officially ended at 1.
Mike Tyson is really a menace, and
Anybody who saw the way he behaved in his television interviews before his last fight knows that there's something not right there. And you can bring in experts from every medical school in the country, and it still wouldn't convince me, but that something is not right.
One of the things that the Nevada Athletic Commission saw last October, what America saw, was Mike Tyson truly had turned the corner. He has really made a sincere effort to turn his life around. He has been conscientious about his therapy. He has done community service. It was not strategy, it was the truth. Unfortunately, apparently, it fell on deaf ears today.
In the situation that he was on probation, and the situation that happened, but he didn't make it any better with his comments on TV.
Today is a setback for Mike Tyson. Today, setback for his family, his wife, his kids. And the judge was very harsh on him. And I think the judge is trying to send a message to Mike Tyson.
I think Tyson is pretty much done. He can still punch, but he can't really fight anymore. And I feel sorry for him, and I feel sad about it. But I think this is the last inevitable act of a Greek tragedy of self-destruction.
Tyson's advisor, Shelley Finkel, had some strong comments about the sentencing, saying any time at this point that he would be taken out of the ring would be a real death sentence. There's the likelihood that he would lose his license, which would be tantamount to banning him from boxing. So Tyson goes from showtime to possibly doing time. His next fight is scheduled for April 24th in Las Vegas against an undetermined opponent,
Hello again, everybody. I'm Steve Albert. Before we get to the action in the ring, in case you missed it yesterday, another bombshell involving former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. A Maryland judge sentenced Tyson to 1 year in prison for assaulting 2 motorists in a traffic incident. Now, for the latest on the Tyson situation, we turn to our colleague Jim Gray. Jim?
Thank you very much, Steve. Well, the exact sentence was 2 two-year terms to be served concurrently, with all but 1 year suspended. In addition, Maryland Judge Stephen Johnson fined Tyson $5,000 and ordered him to serve 2 years probation and 200 hours of community service upon his release. All of this stemming from Tyson's no contest plea to a second-degree misdemeanor assault of 2 motorists after what has often been described as a minor traffic incident last August 31st. Now, according to reports by the Associated Press, the New York Times, and others, Tyson's lawyers negotiated a plea agreement with the original prosecutor, a man named Robert Dean, who had agreed to recommend no jail term for Tyson. However, Dean lost to a man named Douglas Gansler in a recent election for county prosecutor, and just 3 days after taking office, Gansler sent a lengthy memo to the judge requesting incarceration for the ex-champion. Now, according to the New York Times, Tyson's lawyer said that Gansler's request was a betrayal of the agreement that they had with the former prosecutor Dean. Tonight, Tyson remains behind bars. Now, Showtime has learned and has been informed that appeals are already being filed, and some answers are expected as of Monday morning. Now, Gansler, the prosecutor currently, is also reported by the Las Vegas Sun as having said that Tyson would most likely serve just 6 to 7 months in jail, and now I quote, he will be able to fight again probably before the end of the year, end quote. That from the prosecutor. Now, among the many outstanding questions tonight are, what of Nevada and Indiana? How will the Nevada State Athletic Commission react to this development? And far more significantly for Mike Tyson, the state of Indiana, where he remains on probation for his 1991 conviction. Now, immediately after the sentencing last night, there you see Mike Tyson being escorted out. He was denied bail and taken in handcuffs to the Montgomery County, Maryland jail, where he will stay pending an attempt once again at bail and the decisions of his lawyers concerning an appeal. We've seen this scene. It was some 8 years ago, Mike Tyson being let out by the sheriff's department into a paddy wagon in handcuffs. And there he goes back to jail, Mike Tyson, Steve.
And Jim, we should point out that we attempted to interview Tyson's camp and Tyson's legal team, but they declined to be interviewed. I want to ask you, what is the status of his next fight, April the 24th? No opponent name. What's going on there?
Well, certainly that is very, very much up in the air, and it would be simply speculation on my behalf or anybody's behalf at this point to state whether or not Mike Tyson will make that fight. I would think that it is highly unlikely that April 24th would be any time that Mike Tyson would be fighting.
All right, Jim, thanks very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Talk to you later. Just prior to his comeback fight with Francois Botha, I asked Tyson what it would be like if he had to go back to prison because of the traffic incident in Maryland.
I know what it is to have a wife that loves me. I know what it is to have children that I love and they love me. I met beautiful people. For the first time, I'm happy being in Arizona. I met some beautiful people here. And I've been to prison before, you know what I mean? And I'm a man. So if I ever go back to prison, you know, as far as me doing a 40 years, 60 years, whatever they plan on doing, giving me, I can do that, you know what I mean? But I experienced the precious pleasures of life already, you know what I mean? So if I did 100 years, I'm cool.
Yes, a bit of dark prophecy from Mike Tyson. It now appears that Tyson will enter his third imposed absence from the ring. How did this brilliant boxing prodigy of the mid-'80s become this ongoing saga of turmoil and tragedy? It seems no matter how much effort, how much time, how much support is invested in this man, his fate is almost preordained, as if a character in a Greek tragedy. However, few would argue that in the end, Mike Tyson himself has scripted his own destiny. Now, at this moment, there are many unanswered questions regarding the immediate future of Mike Tyson. It'd be unfair and somewhat irresponsible for us to speculate on the legal issues, but we can certainly address the boxing side. With that, let me bring on my ringside partners. First, the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. And Ferdy, can Tyson come back if he's out for another year?
If he's out for another year, most certainly he can come back. A year is nothing to fighter, especially heavyweights who sometimes take a year between fights. 1 year is nothing, but 4 years, that's a different story. So I think if this is the only thing he's got to worry about, this is a hitch in his career, he can overcome it and pick up where he left off.
All right, we'll turn to our other partner here, Bobby Ches. I got to talk to him before the Botha fight. You spoke to him after the Botha fight. What did he have to say?
Well, Steve, Mike and I have become well acquainted over the years, over the past 13, 14 years. And I talked to him about the fight, congratulated him on his victory, but asked him how he felt. He looked a little rusty, and I told him that I thought maybe more of his mind was that rust, not his body. His body looked okay, but he didn't seem to be thinking quite fight-like. And I think some of the things outside the fight game in his personal life have gotten to him. He thought his mind wasn't concentrating enough on what was inside the ring, but more outside the ring. This only adds to that. He has a whole lot ahead of him, Steve.
Boxing, as you know, has survived in the past without Mike Tyson. What does this mean to the heavyweight division now?
Well, Mike Tyson, because of his power and presence, because of his attraction and draw, will always be a factor in the heavyweight division, regardless of how and when he fights. But I certainly think that the heavyweight division has got to find a new Mike Tyson, new star. But boxing will always survive any individual.
Tyson's decision not to fight outside the ring might help him get back in the ring sooner. In a deal between Tyson's lawyers and authorities in Maryland and Indiana, Tyson will have 60 days tacked onto his Maryland jail stay for violating his probation for that '92 rape conviction in the Hoosier state. Tyson gives up any right to appeal his convictions in either state.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network. Go.com.
Welcome back to Up Close. I hate to do this to the audience, but the talk we had in the break was pretty outstanding, but unfortunately this is only a half-hour show. And one of the items, you know, as I look over, is trying to check the ear, Evander, and actually it has sort of a Spock quality to it now. It's got
That's beautiful.
Dude, you know, you can't avoid forever. That is going to be probably the most famous bout of your life. How do you reflect on it now, especially with what's going on to Mike Tyson to this moment?
Well, it's a proven that things do happen to both people, but the point of life, to how do you stop, the solution to the problem is to forgive.
How do you feel about, did he ever get a hold of you? I know he tried to call you a few times after. Did you ever speak after that happened? Have you spoken?
Well, yes, he apologized in his own way. We ended up staying at the same hotel, Trump International, stayed on the same floor, came down. You know, he apologized his own way. We as people
Which
have to,
is what?
What you mean? He seen me and he just shook my hand and he kind of.
Did he say, I'm sorry?
Well, you don't have to say it. You can. Some people don't know how to say they're sorry. But, you know, they shake their head. If he wasn't sorry about it, he could have just walked away and said, man, forget this, and said something right there and there, because he's capable of doing that. But he looked at me in my eye and just, you know, respect.
You know, in recent interviews, he said expletive, Evander Holyfield.
Well, what you got to understand, under a lot of pressure, people are telling me this thing, and sometimes people can't stand for people to put them higher than them. I'm telling you, people kind of import these things for him to say it. They know that like a loose cannon sometimes is you put pressure. It's a point of putting pressure on the person at the right time that cause a person like that. But that's the reason why we have to get to control our emotion, where we don't let people push the button, because there ain't a button they can push.
Even if a Maryland judge reduces his sentence to time served on Friday, Mike Tyson will not be a free man that night. Tyson must then begin serving 60 days for violating terms of his Indiana probation. A spokeswoman for the Marion County, Indiana Prosecutor's Office said Monday Iron Mike's hearing to reduce the one-year sentence he's currently serving in Maryland for assault is Friday. His subsequent 60-day sentence could also be reduced, meaning Tyson's earliest release date would be April 26th.
Iron Man Mike Tyson is down but not out. Indiana officials said Monday that the boxer won't be leaving his jail cell for at least a couple of months. Last Friday, a judge ruled that Tyson's one-year sentence for assault in Maryland could be reduced to time already served. But Tyson still has to serve 60 days for violating terms of his Indiana probation for a 1992 rape conviction.
Mike Tyson did not receive his get-out-of-jail-free card today. The former heavyweight champion, in a motion filed by his attorneys, had asked the judge who sentenced him to a year in jail following a road rage conviction to be released based on time served. But while the judge praised Tyson for the, quote, remarkable progress Tyson had made while behind bars, the judge also said he deserved no special treatment. Based on today's ruling, the earliest Mike Tyson could be released from jail is the early part of June.
Who's been doing most of his fighting lately with his gloves off.
Yeah, that may be changing very shortly. Mike Tyson is a free man tonight. He was released from prison 3 hours ago, 3 days after the state of Maryland granted him parole, and several hours after it was announced that his Indiana trial judge signed off on the arrangement. Tyson had served less than 4 months of a one-year assault sentence, including time added on for violating probation from his original 1992 rape conviction in Indianapolis. His release came after Friday's 5-1 vote by the Maryland Parole Commission. Tyson emerged from the Montgomery County Jail and left immediately. Until September, Tyson is serving parole, having to report in person to a parole agent. It is exactly those stricter terms of parole that Maryland authorities wanted for Tyson, rather than just unsupervised probation. Tyson's probation begins in September, including 200 hours of community service. What of Tyson the boxer? He last fought in January. That was a TKO over Francois Botha, a 5th-round stoppage with Tyson trailing on all 3 scorecards. He's reported to have bouts remaining on contracts with the MGM Grand in Las Vegas and with Showtime Television. And now joining us live from Vegas, our boxing analyst, Al Bernstein. Now, what is the immediate future inside the ring for Mike Tyson?
Well, although they may talk more about his future just as a citizen to try and put the proper spin on this so that they feel he's going to get back in society and be ready to be a useful member of that society, I think they're thinking very much about boxing, his people. He definitely will fight in August. It will definitely be at the MGM, as you alluded to. And it looks like most of the people that were major players in his last fight will still be in place. Shelley Finkel as his main advisor, Tommy Brooks as his trainer, and probably America Presents also as his promoter. Mike Tyson has money problems with the IRS. He has to fight soon. It'll be in August.
I detected just a little cynicism there about the spin. Who is on the short list of who would want to fight him and who he would want to fight for that first tune-up?
You know, in this case, big punchers need not apply, because Franz Botha, in that fight you alluded to, was hitting Mike Tyson virtually at will over the first 4 rounds, and I think even stunned him once or twice before Tyson got in what I believe, and many believe, was pretty much a lucky punch. So they can't bring a heavyweight in who's got lots of power, who can get to Mike Tyson early and hurt him. So you want a guy who's kind of a boxer, but not too good a boxer, but also a guy who doesn't punch very well, who also has a name that they can sell to the public. I think it all equals somebody like Axel Schultz, the German fighter.
Well, let's talk about Tyson the fighter. We talked about the Botha fight, and that Botha was having his way for 4 rounds. How diminished a boxer is Mike Tyson after all these years now? He's 32.
Yeah, his skills had been eroding already, and that's an important point to make. And then with all the layoffs, that only adds to the problem. I thought his performance against Franz Botha showed that his skills have eroded to a very low level. Franz Botha was about the 16th or 17th best heavyweight in the world. At least 15 ahead of him would easily have beaten Mike Tyson and had him knocked out. I think Tyson's skills are very much eroded, and it's very questionable whether he can ever be even 50% of the old Mike Tyson.
Which means with Lennox Lewis holding 1 belt and Evander Holyfield holding the other 2, could Mike Tyson, if those 2 guys remain the champions, and of course they fight in November, the 2 champs, could Tyson defeat either of them for the heavyweight championship? Even with several tune-ups.
Yeah, bearing in mind the fact that we didn't think Evander Holyfield had a chance to beat Mike Tyson and that he looked like a fighter that was very much on the downside, I'm still going to say no. Even with 2 tune-ups, what we saw from Mike Tyson, I think, in the Botha fight was not just ring rust. And I think both Lewis and even a diminished Holyfield that we saw against Lewis the last time, if that would continue, even diminished Holyfield would be too much for Mike Tyson. He looked very timid against Franz Botha, more tentative than we've ever seen.
All right, Al Bernstein and Mike Tyson, a free man tonight, and of course everyone waiting to see who he will fight come August, probably in Las Vegas. Bob?
Mike Tyson is a free man tonight. He was released from prison Monday, 3 days after the state of Maryland granted him parole. Tyson had to serve less than 4 months of a 1-year assault sentence, which included added time for violating probation from his 1992 rape conviction. Tyson will be under parole supervision until next February. He will be subject to urine testing at least twice a week and unannounced home visits by state authorities. He must receive permission to leave Maryland, complete a psychiatric evaluation, and undergo anger management. As for Tyson the boxer, his manager Shelley Finkel said he could see no reason why Mike Tyson would not fight sometime this year.
In reasonably good shape and are free this October 2nd and feel like going a few rounds or a few seconds with Mike Tyson, get in touch with Shelley Finkel, that's Tyson's manager, who says his fighter has space booked at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Tyson's last work was in January when he beat Francois Botha. Previous to that, he bit Evander Holyfield's ears, but did not grab Holyfield's nose and stick his own thumb through his fingers and say, "I've got your nose." He did not do that because he had boxing gloves on, and no one would have gotten the joke.
Today, Mike Tyson's downward spiral began when he was knocked out by unknown Buster Douglas back in 1990. If that is indeed the case, the former heavyweight champ might have a chance to come full circle. CNN Sports Illustrated has learned a rematch is set for October 2nd in Las Vegas.
Buster Douglas shocked the world by knocking out Mike Tyson, and 9 years later, he shocked the world by getting a rematch. That's right, Tyson and Douglas 2 is set for October 2nd at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, according to a source close to the deal, and will be carried on the Showtime network. Tyson received $10 million, the 39-year-old Buster $1 million. An official announcement is expected next week. Meanwhile, Iron Mike doing some jail time Tuesday as a visitor. Tyson toured the jail tent city in Maricopa County, Arizona. The 900 inmates in the county jail tents got donuts and even some autographs from Tyson, who joked he was happy to see an all-white chain gang, though he later apologized. The event marked the 6-year anniversary of Tent City.
Mike Tyson was back among felons today. He did nothing wrong to deserve that, but he did come up with an arresting manner of speech. Upon seeing inmates in chains at a Tent City jail compound near Phoenix, Tyson said that's too much like slavery, and he added he was proud for seeing an all-white chain gang for once. He apologized for that, handed out donuts of all sizes to inmates of all colors, while talking to them about trying to get their lives back on track after their sentences are completed.
Taking a break here on Friday Night Fights. What's next for Iron Mike? Will it be a rematch? We'll be back after this. Great news. Mike Tyson will be fighting again October 2nd, and it is close to being signed with Buster Douglas. A lot of things have to happen, though, first for that fight to happen, and mainly Buster Douglas has to be medically cleared to fight in that bout. And this is a man who ballooned up to 400 pounds, Max. He'd been in a diabetic coma. Is this a safe fight? Do you think it gets sanctions? A lot of questions still remain. Should it be fought in the first place?
Well, common sense says no, that you don't want to see Douglas fight, that apparently he's at 270 now. He'd have to melt down too much to even make the weight. He's over 36 years old, so in Vegas he's going to have to get checked by the doctor, and he's going to have to pass the test. But I'm not a doctor. I haven't examined him. And if he is examined by the doctor and he is cleared to fight, who are we to say that he shouldn't be fighting?
Well, let's take a look. Mike Tyson making an appearance at a Phoenix courtroom, Phoenix prison, rather. Phoenix prison, as Mike Tyson came up. And again, let's sort of take a look at this. Mike Tyson comes out, and it's hard to tell exactly where he is weight-wise and what type of condition he is in right now. But he did make an appearance and tried to offer some moral support to men who are in prison. This is in the Phoenix area. Again, you got to wonder, as far as Tyson opponents are concerned, Max, this guy now, Buster Douglas, this, very interesting rematch, one of the biggest upsets in boxing history.
Well, this is my feeling on the fight. Tyson's allowed to have some soft touches, at least a soft touch out of prison. He struggled very much against Franz Botha. So if he's allowed to have a soft touch, the problem is you also have to sell it to the public. So how do you sell it to the public? You need a name. And Buster Douglas has a name. And by the way, as non-competitive as the fight should be if it does come off, I was even more convinced that it would be even less competitive the first time they fought, and Douglas won the fight.
Let's bring in Teddy Atlas right now. Teddy, for one night, One night, Buster Douglas was brilliant in beating Mike Tyson. Since then, he's had two really competitive fights, or significant fights, really, Teddy. That against Evander Holyfield and Lou Savarese. He got mowed down in both of those fights. What do you think of Buster Douglas fighting Mike Tyson now, if that happens?
Well, I don't think he should be fighting. I'll be honest with you. Buster Douglas fights, and we don't need commissions to go out there and look out for fighters and to make rules. Buster Douglas was in a diabetic coma. It was induced by a diabetic coma. But if it was from let's say it was from a head injury in a car accident, God forbid, or something like that, he was in a coma, there'd be no talking here. He wouldn't be allowed to fight. Well, this wasn't from a head injury. I know it's different, but he was still in a coma. There was damage done to his body. The proof of that, he has no chin anymore. He got knocked out by Lou Savarese, who going into that fight had just been knocked out before that. He got knocked out in one round. He also got knocked out by Monaco. And Monaco, of course, it was called a disqualification because it was late, but he's a low-level guy, a journeyman type guy. He knocked out Buster Douglas. I don't believe Buster Douglas should be allowed to fight right now. I just think it's a dangerous situation right now. And of course, if anything, I think it also shows you that Tyson's people are not real confident now with who they put him in with.
All right, Teddy, thank you very much. Again, we point out that he has yet to really petition and get into the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and he has yet to be cleared.
And Teddy's, of course, right. We'd like to see Douglas not fight, but it's his decision to make if he is cleared.
You know, a lot of people remember, I guess, one of your biggest heavyweights was Mike Tyson. Is he ever going to be back to heavyweight champion space?
I don't know. You know, I think I just love Mike. I think he's a wonderful guy. I think he's being led astray, and I have great sympathy for him, and I feel that, you know, I wish him well, whatever he does, you know, but it's going to be entirely up to him. He has to stand up and be accountable for his own actions.
Yeah, but your relationship is on the outs now, and when we met, you and he were like two peas in a pod.
Inseparable. And that is what's so shocking, that you would let someone come between you. But only women would know all these type of things. You understand that? Because, you know, fools rush in where wise men fear to tread. And when I seen the Yenta session that y'all had at the opening of this show, it was just marvelous.
Really?
Yes, Joy, you were outdone yourself.
Today's Sports Century Classic Moment is brought to you by Bud Light.
I always believed that Holyfield could beat him. He was a better fighter, number one. He had a bigger heart, that he was a bigger person. He was a stronger guy, and he'd be able to take what Tyson could give out, and that would break Tyson's spirit.
He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A snake right in. The chopper stops the fight. And Holyfield has won. I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
That was November 9th, 1996.
Lennox Lewis is the undisputed heavyweight champ. With that kind of title, he figure he can beat up any man on the planet. It's the same reasoning that has us believing the world's fastest human can outrun anyone on Earth, even though there might be some guy in Lesotho or someplace who just hasn't had the right coaching. We're getting off the subject. What is the subject? It's anything the guy who can beat up everyone wants it to be.
Mike Tyson is a boxer from my era, and I think that would be a great fight because, you know, most of his fans would love to see a fight between me and him, and most of my fans would probably like to see the same. But he's been a naughty boy lately, so I don't know.
That's where Sterling Sharp's wardrobe went to. Lewis has received offers to stage a fight from China, Japan, Canada, and South Africa, but he wants to pound someone on British soil first.
It used to be you'd tune into a Mike Tyson fight to see how quickly he'd lay out his opponent. Now it's like a freak show. If it's not ferrets, it's an opponent falling down because of an accidental foul. Word out that Tyson is taking his show on the road. Manchester, England, not to fight the Queen, but a guy named Julius Francis. Supposed to take place January 29th. It'll be Tyson's first fight since that Orland Norris mess on October 23rd. Francis is 35 years old and the British Commonwealth champion.
With Mike Tyson's next fight in Manchester looming 18 days away, you'd think someone in the legion of lawyers involved in Team Tyson would have taken the time to read the fine print in England's immigration laws. You know, the clause that no one convicted of a crime that carries a sentence of more than a year in prison can enter the country. The Home Office across the pond told Tyson today that upon arriving Sunday, someone may tell him, "So sorry." An immigration spokesman said the only way Tyson could be allowed in the country is for, quote, strong, compassionate reasons.
Mike Tyson doesn't want to stay in England long. He just wants to take out Brit journeyman Julius Francis as quickly as possible, collect his $12 million, and begin work on his plan to fight Lennox Lewis this fall. But Tuesday, British immigration authorities announced that anyone convicted of a crime that carries a jail term of at least a year would not be allowed in England. And they weren't talking about Don King. Tyson has a 1992 rape conviction on his resume. This to be continued.
A ferocious Mike Tyson. That's all it took. One shot, he may not get up. It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson returns to the ring. Not on pay-per-view. Only on Showtime. Mike Tyson versus Julius Francis. Saturday, January 29th at 10. Only on Showtime. Plus, preceding the fight, Showtime takes a look at the last 5 years of boxing's most controversial figure, Mike Tyson in his own words, premiering at 9:45.
Today's Sports Century Classic Moment is brought to you by 10-10-3-2-1.
We'd have all these people around him and all this money and all this fame and all this glamour, but at those worst moments, he was alone.
On the same day in 1992, Tyson is convicted of rape.
Mike Tyson had an opportunity to be really one of the landmark athletes of the 20th century, but he was incapable of handling it.
It was reported that Mike Tyson was interviewed by the U.S. Attorney for Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. ESPN has learned that Tyson was also interviewed by the U.S. Marshal Service. At issue, the location of a former member of Tyson's entourage who is currently being sought as a federal fugitive.
Really needing no introduction the world over. Here is the youngest man ever to win the heavyweight title. The two-time heavyweight champion of the world. The one and only Mike Tyson. Tyson laying it on, pouring it on. Tyson on the assault. One shot, he may not get up. It's showtime.
We have not forgotten the fighters. Yes, Mike Tyson and Andrew Golota are finally in the ring getting ready for this non-title bout as Mike Tyson looks to stretch his winning streak and go 37-0 in his career in a non-title bout. It's a little bit of delay because Andrew Golota had this issue with his gloves, but now it's all worked out. They're in the ring. We'll get you updates as the fight gets going. The fight is on. The next Sports Center in an hour will be all over it. I'm Linda Cohn.
I'm John Anderson. We are now joined by our viewers on ESPN, Al Bernstein and Scott Walker, here at the Palace in Auburn Hills. Mike Tyson, a victor in a bizarre fashion as Andrew Golota quit before the beginning of this third round. When you look at this fight, summing it up, obviously Golota, odd for him to, but he has a history of quitting before.
Yeah, he does. Of course, we saw him against Michael Grant quit in the 10th round, but that was a little different because Grant had punished him at least in that round. In this case, Mike Tyson knocking Golota down in the first round with the big overhand right, but in the second round, Golota was able to hold his own and was not punished nearly as much as you would expect the fighter to be for him to quit after the second round. And because of a very faulty game plan by Golota and apparently a lack of fortitude, Mike Tyson ends up getting the win in this fight.
We will find out shortly if this is the last we've seen of Mike Tyson. Was this a different Tyson we saw today?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, he certainly didn't have the bull rush attitude that he's had in his last three fights. He did come in and was hit with some decent uppercuts by Andrew Golota, and that kind of stalled his momentum momentarily, was able to land the big overhand right. But this was a Tyson who definitely was not as sharp as we had seen, at least in the Francis fight. And, of course, Savarese just dominated earlier. But this is a different Mike Tyson. We have to acknowledge that. And as I said, if David Tua and Lennox Lewis were looking at this fight, they're licking their chops.
We will come back on ESPN News with more coverage after this commercial break. Interesting things from Detroit. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, it wasn't exactly Oprah Winfrey's Book of the Month club, but Mike Tyson invited some writers and reporters over to his Las Vegas pad on Thursday. The former heavyweight champ offered pastries and coffee along with his view on the current state of heavyweight affairs and where he belongs in that equation.
You think you're the greatest heavyweight of all time? You have to, if we talk, you have to equate me conquering the world at 2019 the same as Alexander beating Doris for Persia. My preeminence in this game could never be ignored. It just could never be ignored. Regardless of what, no, it can't be ignored. It can't be toppled.
You can hear more from Iron Mike throughout the weekend on ESPN News and Sports Center. Jeremy Schaap goes one-on-one with the former heavyweight champ. The entire piece will run as the Sunday night conversation.
We should know better than to expect an edifying commentary from a boxer in a post-match interview, given the fact he's taken assorted shots to the head. Even beyond that, there must be some excuse for Mike Tyson's infamous comments about devouring the children of Lennox Lewis. He'll try to clear it up after you hear again just what he said.
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
I've said many things about many people, some deserving more than others, but I've said many things about many people. And yeah, I said that, but I didn't say none. Sometimes I become, I won't even say, I won't even use the word crass. Yes, that I'm so explosive sometimes with the word that I choose. And I really have a little, if any, regard for what someone thinks about it at that particular time.
Same thing happens when you stand over here.
Sure. He didn't want to use the crass, but we feel comfortable using it. Yeah. All right, Kenny, thanks very much. Mike Tyson, always an interesting discussion.
Pass along a few news and notes, including Mike Tyson, who, in a surprise today, had a chance to meet with reporters. Tyson said, among other things, that he is beginning to take more perspective about his life. Of course, he turns 35 on June the 30th. Tyson's still looking forward to perhaps the big payday, an eventual fight with Lennox Lewis. Of course, that is still yet to be worked out. But he did say, among other things, that he was tired of being a freak show. He talked today to Dr. Margaret Goodman.
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
I've said many things about many people, some deserving more than others, but I've said many things about many people. And yeah, I said that, but I didn't say none. Sometimes I become, I won't even say, I won't even use the word crass. Yes, that I'm so explosive sometimes with the word that I choose. And I really have a little, if any, regard for what someone thinks about it at that particular time.
He has established his place in the history books. You can see it. You can see it. The youngest man ever to win the heavyweight title.
Down he goes. It's all over. He is knocked out.
Please welcome the former undisputed heavyweight champion.
The right uppercut of Tyson has put him down.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the one and only Iron Mike Tyson.
I can understand Madonna not inviting me to the wedding. I can understand George W. Bush not inviting me to the inauguration. But do you have any idea of how much it hurt to find out this week that I wasn't even on Mike Tyson's A-list, that I wasn't among the handful of sports reporters who were invited to visit his home, to see the statue of Napoleon and the painting of Sonny Liston, to hear him say that he would like to be remembered as bizarre, like Judy Garland, he explained.
Sounds like Judy Garland.
I've been to the White House. I've been to Graceland. I've even slept in Wilt Chamberlain's house. But Mike Tyson didn't ask me over. I'll say one thing for Mike. Despite the evidence of his recent fights, he still knows how to hurt a guy. Join us again next week for another edition of the Sports Reporters. Now stay tuned for Outside the Lines with Bob Lee.
Still to come on this edition of SportsCenter, Jeremy Schaap's conversation with Mike Tyson.
Look at the contrast, though. Your brother is studying how to repair brains, and you, for a living, get into a ring and damage brains.
Well,
is that irony?
Well, the family business. I reckon you fix them.
Do you think Mike Tyson's done? He ranked 3rd on Forbes magazine's list of highest paid athletes in 2000, even though more than 40% of the $48 million he made last year came not from boxing, but from winning a lawsuit. Tiger Woods is the only American athlete who made more. Yet can you imagine 2 athletes with more different personas? Tyson claims he's changing his as he sat down Thursday with our Jeremy Schaap.
You described yourself a few months ago as very angry. Angry at everyone, hating everyone. What's changed?
Because I knew the problem stems basically because of me. And then every time I wanted that problem to end, I could cause it to end. And that's what I do now. I just cause all my ill troubles just to disappear.
So you love boxing again?
Well, I always loved it, never stopped loving it. I just,
but you were bored with it?
I know I had difficulty dealing with my whole stigma involved with boxing. You know, biting the Vander, hurting the guy's arm, and hitting somebody after the break. All that just is all built up on me, and I didn't know how to handle it at that particular time.
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
I've said many things about many people, some deserving more than others, but I've said many things about many people. And yeah, I said that, but I didn't say none. Sometimes I won't even use the word crass. Yes, that I'm so explosive sometimes with the word that I choose. And I really have a little, if any, regard for what everyone thinks about it.
Did you ever feel, though, that sometimes, I mean, with all the things that have happened, and you mentioned them, you know, with Botha and Galata, and then with Lou Savarese, all these incidents, Evander Holyfield, that it feels more like a sideshow than boxing?
I don't believe that. If that more of a sideshow, I think probably that they believe mostly when I'm outside of the ring, and I've given it some apocalyptic kind of statements.
I'm on this Zoloft thing, right? But I'm on that to keep me from killing y'all.
Other than that, I think they take my performance and my fighting very serious. It's just sometimes the outcome of my fights, if it may be brutal or else it just may be somewhat particular.
Right now, in all, you know, honesty, you have to say Mike Tyson, maybe he's a top 10 heavyweight, maybe. Does that bother you? I mean, the fact that your stature has been diminished so much?
That's not true, because the only people that can make that assessment are people that endured what I endured. A sports writer can't make that assessment of me.
The fans can't? The writers can't?
Fans can't, no, you can't. You can only make your opinion, but the people that really matter.
What's your opinion?
My opinion?
Where do you rank?
Oh, man, I'm tops, man. My preeminence in this game could never be ignored.
Do you respect Lennox Lewis as a fighter?
Oh, yeah, tremendously.
What do you respect about him?
That he's a real, like I said, basically, he's really a consummate fighter. That's really good, but you just really can't. He really has a real perplexed style, but you can't really figure it out.
How much do you want this fight?
Well, it's the only fight, really. But, you know, I'm not going to, I won't dwindle my life away dwelling on it, but it really is the only fight that I want.
You said in Scotland that you didn't think you were ready at that time to fight Lennox Lewis. What has changed in the half year since
Well, I'm
then?
a different person now than I was really, I really was in limbo about where my career and my life was basically going. And I wasn't really sure really what I wanted to do with my career, or my life period, my personal life. But as time came and my life started falling in the proper perspective, things in my life basically started falling in proper perspective. And I said, well, I know I can do it, And I will hate myself to know if I stop fighting without putting in 20 years, I'm gonna hate myself for it.
There's much more where that came from. You can hear the entire conversation with Iron Mike Monday at 5:30 Eastern on Up Close, right here on ESPN.
Sunday Conversation is brought to you by Lincoln Financial Group. Clear solutions in a complex world.
Upon first glimpse, Mike Tyson has had a personality makeover. He is playing nice in part to prove he's not the sports world's version of Hannibal Lecter, or as he puts it, a freak show. And to illustrate, he is rededicating himself as a fighter. The 34-year-old Tyson, who last fought for the title in June of '97 when he lost to Evander Holyfield, sat down with Jeremy Schaap for the Sunday Conversation.
You described yourself a few months ago as very angry. Angry at everyone, hating everyone. What's changed?
Because I knew the problem stems basically because of me. And then every time I wanted that problem to end, I could cause it to end. And that's what I do now. I just cause all my ill trouble just to disappear.
So you love boxing again?
Oh, yeah, I always loved it, never stopped loving it. I just,
but you were bored with it?
I know I had difficulty dealing with my whole stigma involved with boxing. You know, biting the Vander, hurting the guy's arm, and hitting somebody after the break. All that is all built up on me, and I didn't know how to handle it at that particular time.
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
I've said many things about many people, some deserving more than others, but I've said many things about many people. And yeah, I said that, but I didn't say none. Sometimes I won't even use the word crass. Yes, that I'm so explosive sometimes with the words that I choose. And I really have little, if any, regard for what everyone thinks about it.
Do you ever feel, though, that sometimes, I mean, with all the things that have happened, and you mentioned them, you know, with Botha and Galata, and then with Lou Savarese, all these incidents, Evander Holyfield, that it feels more like a sideshow than boxing?
I don't believe that. If that more of a sideshow, I think probably that they believe mostly when I'm outside of the ring, and I've given it some apocalyptic kind of statements.
I'm on the Zoloft thing, right? But I'm on that to keep me from killing y'all.
And other than that, I think they take my performance and my fighting very serious. It's just sometimes the outcome of my fight, if it may be brutal or else it just may be somewhat particular.
There was a time when a lot of people thought you were one of the great heavyweights of all time, that you certainly would be, if not the greatest, one of the 2 or 3. Right now, in all honesty, you have to say Mike Tyson, maybe he's a top 10 heavyweight, maybe. Does that bother you? I mean, the fact that your stature has been diminished so much?
That's not true, because the only people that can make that assessment are people that endured what I endured. A sports writer can't make that assessment of me.
The fans can't? The writers can't?
Fans can't, no, you can't. You can only make your opinion, but the people that really matter.
What's your opinion?
My opinion?
Where do you rank?
Oh, man, I'm tops, man. My preeminence in this game could never be ignored.
Do you respect Lennox Lewis as a fighter?
Oh, yeah, tremendously.
What do you respect about him?
He's a real, like I said, basically, he's really a consummate fighter. That's really good, but you just really can't. He really has a real perplexed style, but you can't really figure it out.
How much do you want this fight?
Well, it's the only fight, really. But I'm not gonna. I won't dwindle my life away dwelling on it. But it really is the only fight that I want.
You said in Scotland that you didn't think you were ready at that time to fight Lennox Lewis. What has changed in the half year since then?
Well, I'm a different person now since then. I really was in limbo about where my career and my life was basically going, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my career or my life period, my personal life. But as time came and my life started falling in the proper perspective, things in my life basically started falling in proper perspective. And I said, well, I know I can do it. And I will hate myself to know if I stop fighting without putting in 20 years, I'm going to hate myself for it.
Sunday Conversation is brought to you by Lincoln Financial Group. Clear solutions in a complex world.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from their cloth. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
We are at the ESPN Zone in Anaheim for Up Close with the one and only Mike Tyson. After the Andrew Galata fight, he told us he was going to retire. He's a long way from that. In fact, the last time he spoke to a large gathering in the media to promote that fight last fall, it was an expletive-laced tirade in which he jumped up on a table, ripped off his shirt, and threatened bodily harm to the assemblage. Last week in Las Vegas, a much more serene Mike Tyson, fresh from a workout, sat down with Jeremy Schaap to discuss his new image. See what you think up close.
Mike, first of all, this is the first time you sat down for an interview with ESPN in a while. Why now? Why did you want to talk to us?
I don't know. You know, I'm gonna tell you something, Jeremy. I'm crazy, right? Because I'm running around here mad at everybody for no reason. And I just, I don't know. I'm probably just mad at me. If mad, I don't know what I was mad
You're not
about.
mad anymore?
No, at least I don't appear to be. No.
You seem happier than you've been in a while.
I'm just happy that I just went to, I had a, God, I don't know if it was a revolution, but I just, some kind of weird revelation. I just started just forming, bonding a life with myself and with people around me who I feel close. And life is too short to hold grudges, to be angry at people. And I'm just happy as existing.
You described yourself a few months ago as very angry. Angry at everyone, hating everyone. What's changed?
Because I know the problem stems basically because of me. And then every time I wanted that problem to end, I could cause it to end. And that's what I do now. I just cause all my ill troubles just to disappear.
Before you fought Andrew Galata back in October in Detroit, you said, that was it. I'm quitting. I'm done. Have you changed your mind?
Well, you know, even though saying it at that particular time, I say it basically out of just being angry at just the outcome of the fight. I just always wanted everything to be perfect. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist in a very flawful world. And I was just very frustrated over a lot of things, even stemming up to the Andrew Galata fight. But I just want to fight. That's all I ever wanted to do is fight. I don't want to do anything else. I've done other things, but I always just wanted to fight.
You said recently, though, that during your comeback, since you came back from the suspension after biting Evander Holyfield, that sometimes you felt as if you were just going through the motions. Are you still just going through the motions?
At this particular time in my life, I'm just want to give 100% adulterated time and just training and focusing on just what I have to offer to the sport and to myself.
So you love boxing again?
Oh, I always loved it, never stopped loving it. I just,
but you were bored with it?
I know I had difficulty dealing with my whole stigma involved with boxing. You know, biting Evander, hurting the guy's arm, and hitting somebody after the break. All that it all built up on me, and I didn't know how to handle it at that particular time. I was going through a lot of personal issues at the time, too. So all that hit me at one time didn't really make a good ingredient to happiness.
Right now, there's only one fight in the heavyweight division, obviously, that anyone wants to see. That's you fight Lennox Lewis. Do you think that fight's going to happen?
Yeah, I think it has to happen. If it doesn't happen, it's just be a misjustice of the whole boxing jurisprudence, because that's fights. We should just put aside television.
You're represented by Showtime. He's represented by HBO. How does that get done?
No, I'm not represented. I'm represented by Mike, but I have an association with Showtime, and he has an affiliation association with HBO, and everybody's basically good friends. The guys of HBO are good friends with the guys from Showtime. I don't have any malevolent feelings towards Lennox Lewis, so it should be able to happen.
Now, what you just said, that's going to come as a surprise to a lot of people who remember distinctly what you said in the ring after knocking out Lou Savarese in Glasgow last June. You said you wanted to rip out his heart. You said you wanted to eat his children. Apparently, you don't feel that way anymore.
I've said many things about many people, some deserving more than others, but I've said many things about many people. And, yeah, I said that, but I didn't say none. Sometimes I become, I won't even say, I won't even use the word crass. Yes, that I'm so explosive sometimes with the word that I choose. And I really have little, if any, regard for what everyone thinks about it at that particular time. I just want to get the big effect.
Are you saying it because you feel that or because you're posturing?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. I like to stress.
You said, quote, I mix truth with lies. How do we know when to take you seriously and when to dismiss your comments as posturing?
Well, my performance should always be the serious part of my whole agenda. You know, when you see my performance successful, as normally it is, that's my statement.
Your entire professional career, every fight you fought, you've been the favorite going in. Even the rematch against Evander. If you get to fight Lennox Lewis, in all likelihood, you will be the underdog. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel anything about it, because that'll just give me more aggression to fight under, and it's how dare them to make me an underdog with anyone except God. And I'll I'll be successful, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Lennox has a tremendous height and reach advantage. He's the kind of fighter who won't engage in a brawl. He hardly lets his opponents touch him. As I said, tremendous height and reach advantage. Most knowledgeable boxing people say he's exactly the type of fighter who should give you trouble. Do you worry ever about being embarrassed by someone like Lennox Lewis in the ring?
No, because I don't look at Lennox Lewis as a threat that he can obliviate me in that kind of fashion and make me look embarrassed. No, I don't think he's that fighter that can do it to me.
How would you get inside, though?
Huh?
I mean, he's so much bigger than you.
As I always got inside. He knows I'm going to get inside, too. And he's the champ of the world. He's confident. He knows I'm going to get inside. He knows he's going to get hit by me, unlike Mr. Tua, who didn't land the punches that he found necessary to land. But I'm going to get in on him. I'm going to hit him.
Your trainer, Tommy Brooks, said recently that he thinks you are a better fighter now than you've ever been, even going back to your peak performances in the late 80s. Do you agree with him?
I don't know. It's just that I just feel better now. You know what I mean? Maybe it comes a time in my life where it all just falls into place and I'm just ready to go. It's like, I don't know, it's like in the first day of school, you're scared, but you want to do it. You just want to do it so badly. You just can't wait to do it. And that's how I feel. You know, you're nervous about doing it, making a big step, because you have to just look at, like, even more so when I fight. The whole world, there's probably 7 billion people in the world, 8 billion people. The whole world is watching the fight. Even if they like fighting or not, just somebody in their house have them watching. Their attention's on that particular Tyson fight, because that's when the world stops for that. And I'm not trying to say to be like, oh, I'm stroking myself, because I don't know, it's just like that. I don't know why, it's just that way. And when the World Series is going on, the world stops. It's not because the ball players are just great, outstanding, gorgeous guys. They all want to watch these guys. They want to see the outcome.
When we continue with Mike Tyson, an earful of his history with Evander Holyfield and his heroes in life, in the ring. Time now for an up-closer look at Mike Tyson. Since returning to boxing after his prison term, Tyson has been in 11 fights with 4 different types of results. Only his 11th round loss to Evander Holyfield has gone past 5 rounds. Of his 7 knockouts, 6 have come in the first or third round. It's why he's still so intriguing. The next topic with Jeremy Schaap.
People used to pay to see you fight, and they paid a lot of money to see you fight because they respected your boxing skills, your acumen in the ring, your power. Do you think they're paying that money now for those set of skills, or is it because they think there's the potential for mayhem every time you step in the ring?
I don't know what anyone pays to see, but I know when they pay in abundance. So whatever it is they're looking for, I hope I must be giving it to them, because they continue to pay.
Do you ever feel, though, that sometimes, I mean, with all the things that have happened, and you mentioned them, you know, with Botha and Galata, and then with Lou Savarese, all these incidents, Evander Holyfield, that it feels more like a sideshow than boxing?
I don't believe that. That more of a sideshow, I think probably they believe mostly when I'm outside of the ring, and I've given it some apocalyptic kind of statements. And other than that, I think they take my performance and my fighting very serious. It's just sometimes the outcome of my fights, if it may be brutal or else it just may be somewhat particular. I don't know, but I'm just happy as that, you know what I mean, that I'm the kind of fighter that I can always get a payday and people like to watch me fight.
We were just over at your house a few minutes ago, and I saw you have 2 giant murals on the wall, and they're all great fighters up on the murals. Ali and Dempsey and Lewis and Marciano, Bob Foster, on and on and on. Sonny Liston also. Among all those great fighters up on your wall who you see every day, who do you relate to the most?
I don't know. Mostly all of them in some fashion or another, because the only thing that we all have, I will explain, the only thing that we all have in common up there is that we all were poverty-stricken. You know what I mean? And just to know that everybody in that wall, plus myself, right? We all earned our money and are living the same way. And I bet you we mostly spend it the same way. We probably conduct ourselves the same way. And it's just so wild that, you know, it comes a time in all of our lives we all go back and say, because I listen to a lot of their interviews, that they could live their life over, they would do this, they would do this, they would do that. A lot of those fighters, like myself, have been involved with people who are older than them and more sophisticated than them when they started fighting, and they've been abused and taken advantage of. And I know a lot of them have to be bitter. They have to grow old being bitter, because I'm just a young boy compared to those guys. Even in their prime, I'm probably their age now, right? And I'm just saying to myself, those guys have to be better, because I know the stages I went through dealing with shifty managers, shifty promoters, and shifty people involved in the whole ambulance of boxing. And I don't know how they made it. They're a hell of a men than I were.
Let's talk about, what's happened. The big picture, Mike Tyson becomes the youngest heavyweight champion ever at age 19, 20.
Yeah.
Become the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of the world. At that time, people were saying you'd be the greatest heavyweight champion ever. You'd make more money in purses and endorsements than any athlete who ever lived. Where do you think it all went wrong?
Me being a young kid, being totally, it's totally out of control, being a young kid. But you have to understand, I'm just a young kid, a teenager, 20 years old, just turned 20, and I can kick everybody's butt in the world. So just in case I'm in Burger King, because I'm only 19, 20, so I still eat at Burger King or Wendy's, right, or White Castle. Suppose somebody's in a line, and I'm getting tired waiting in line. Which thing, it's just ridiculous. And no one.
You're saying you couldn't control yourself. There were too many temptations?
No, not temptations. Just that it's just how I wanted to live my life. And I wanted to live my life, even though my heroes, you look at Jack Dempsey, all these, I wanted to live my. It wasn't an endorsement. It wasn't the Good Samaritan Club back then. I just wanted to live my life like those guys. Those guys lived their life reckless and did whatever they wanted, and people loved them for it. I just always wanted to live like those guys. I never was crazy about no endorsement deals. I would love to have them and stuff, but that wasn't who I was. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted to be Mike. I wanted to be a member of those guys on my wall.
In our next segment, we include your ESPN comments. That should be interesting. And Michael addressed being merely a top 10 contender as opposed to undisputed heavyweight champ.
There was a time when a lot of people thought you were one of the great heavyweights of all time, that you certainly would be, if not the greatest, one of the 2 or 3. Right now, in all honesty, you have to say Mike Tyson, maybe he's a top 10 heavyweight, maybe. Does that bother you? The fact that your stature has been diminished so much?
That's not true, because the only people that can make that assessment are people that endured what I endured. A sports writer can't make that assessment of me.
The fans can't? The writers can't?
The fans can't, no. You can't. You can only make your opinion, but the people that really
What's
matter,
your opinion?
My opinion?
Where do you rank?
Oh, man, I'm tops, man.
You think you're the greatest heavyweight of all time?
You have to, if we talk, you have to equate me conquering the world at 2019 the same as Alexander beating Doris for Persia. My preeminence in this game could never be ignored. It just could never be ignored.
No one's saying...
No, it can't be ignored. It can't be toppled.
Well, no one's saying that you weren't precocious, but in terms of the breadth of your career, everything, the totality of it, where do you rate with the great careers?
Just look. If you look at my career, I've been I don't have long to talk, but listen, I've been deprived probably 5 years of my life. In prime, my life, 5 years of my life, and I'm still #1 contender. I'm still beating these guys easier than they ever been beaten, and still. I'm not even fighting at 60% of my potential, 40% of my potential. Now I'm in a state now where I'm confident, I'm ready, can't wait to fight. If I would fight Botha now, other than 3 years or 4 years ago, Botha wouldn't last a round. You know what I mean? Because I took 3 years off, and it just took all out of my whole dexterity as a fighter. It just took a lot from my confidence.
Are you back to where you were?
Well, I feel great. I'm just looking forward to getting in the ring and fight.
All the money you've made, all the titles you've won, all the fame, all the infamy. Did you ever feel, though, that you were never able to escape the circumstances of your childhood? That everywhere you've been, you never really got out of Brownsville?
No, I've been out of Brownsville since I've left Brooklyn, but Brownsville's always a part of me. It's who I am. And a lot of respectable people come from Brownsville. And it's just, that's just who I am. You know what I mean? We're part of a particular den of inequity that everyone has some kind of familiar with. That's just who I am, and I'm proud to be from Brownsville and wouldn't want to be from anywhere else. And I just owe a great deal of my upbringing and the way that I focus now as an individual, as a businessman, to being brought up in Brownsville.
But you've battled with demons, and in the past you've attributed some of those demons to the way in which you were raised. I'm just asking, do you feel like, considering your childhood, did you have a chance to change significantly as a human being?
Well, I never wanted to change. My only problem was I didn't want to be a yes man, and I got tired of kissing people's butt, like the Don King and just managers, promoters. I always wanted to live my life the way I wanted to live my life, and I never had a chance to do that. And the way I wanted to live my life is to basically, forgive me, I don't want to come across as a baboon or just some kind of barbarous person. I just always wanted to do what I want. And regardless of what my circumstances, not only was I prepared to do what I want, I was prepared to deal with the circumstances of what I wanted to do. If it necessarily caused me going to prison, getting in trouble, getting fined, I just want to do what I want to do.
More to get to with Mike Tyson. He'll address his medication and dealing with depression.
Up Close is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
In 1998, you were evaluated psychologically by doctors at Massachusetts General Hospital. They determined that you were suffering from depression, as you just said, low self-esteem, and that you had problems with anger management. How have you tried to address those problems?
That's all they said was wrong with me?
I don't know if that's all.
Oh, okay. Well,
those are among the things they said.
Those are the basic issues that's wrong with Mike Tyson. Then I've joined a long cast of people, famous and not so famous, with that medical condition. And then if that's the problem with me, then that's basically nothing, because I know everyone in this room probably at one time or another, probably now, that they never let people know that suffer from those symptoms.
Do you have low self-esteem?
For certain issues.
Like what?
Oh, personal stuff.
Personal stuff.
Yeah, but you know, it's real personal stuff. But I'm not walking around the street, oh, Mike, you're a horrible guy. I'm a winner. Because if I wasn't a winner, you guys wouldn't be here. Just that I'm a up sometimes. But as far as low self-esteem is not being a winner, I have my moments of low self-esteem, but I know I'm special. I'm very special. And by being very special, you can still have low self-esteem. I just know I'm a winner, and I can do whatever I want to do, and I'm capable of doing whatever I want to do. It's just sometimes I punish myself because I have so much, because I'm so, and it seems so bizarre that I say that. It's just that sometimes I feel guilty because I'm so much of everything. And sometimes I want to, and it's so bizarre I say this to you. I sometimes actually, that's just part of this illness or depression, that sometimes you just try to be the bad guy because I feel like I don't deserve as much as I have, because really, when you really look at it, I'm so fortunate, it's not even funny. It's really not even funny that I'm fortunate that I am.
Do you like yourself right now?
Right now, yeah.
Is that a change?
Yeah, that's a big change. Because I was caught up with my whole image. Sent me to another dimension. My whole image of who I am. I was more caught up. As I come back home, I had problems dealing with my family life at home because I was so caught up with the image of who I was. And that image was a very solemn person.
You're saying you felt you had to live the image that people expected of Mike Tyson?
No, I had to live the image that Mike Tyson expected of Mike Tyson. You have to understand, my image and my whole self-esteem never stemmed from how people thought I felt. It all stems from how I thought I should be or how I felt I had. And I would feel depressed because I wouldn't feel that I'm being more assertive than I should be.
Guys like Larry Holmes and George Foreman aside, you can't fight forever. You're going to be 35 this year. Say you have 3 or 4 more years left. Have you thought about what you're going to do after boxing?
No, but I don't want to do anything. The only thing I ever wanted to do was box. But I won't, like I was saying earlier, I won't box until I drop. I'll box until I almost drop.
Tuesday Up Close, more with our Mark McGuire interview on his health and watching the crab salad, as he described it, of his knee surgery on tape. We'll also talk with fellow Cardinal Jim Edmonds, still with hard feelings for the Angels. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll talk to Michael Waltrip and Steve Park of the Dale Earnhardt Racing Team. Be sure to join us for those shows. I'm Gary Miller at the ESPN Zone in Anaheim, and we'll see you then.
Mike Tyson's 1990s, the decade ended with his $8.7 million purse being held up for a week, while the Nevada State Athletic Commission considered suspending him for hitting Orland Norris after the first-round bell. Appropriate, considering the turn Tyson's career took at the beginning of the decade. Al Bernstein has more on Tyson's fall from the top of the ropes.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Burbick is down. one is going to be over, I believe. It's over, and we have a new era in boxing.
He was just knocking people out in 3 and 4 rounds, and they would say, here's Iron Mike Tyson. Why do you call him Iron? Well, if you ever felt his shoulders, his arms, you'd see, and it was just like steel.
And he's down again and in serious trouble.
It hits you so unaware of what's going to happen, it would flatten you and have you still be laying on the floor kicking.
I refuse to be hurt, knocked down, and knocked out. I can't lose. I refuse to lose.
I think Tyson instilled terrible fear in his opponents. Remember when he fought Frank Bruno? Bruno had to make the sign of the cross at least 100 times before he went into the ring. Fighters shuddered when they got into the ring against Tyson.
He's a scary son of a bitch. Plain and simple. In and out of the ring.
The youngest heavyweight champ of all time developed his scariness on the streets of Brooklyn, where he grew up without a father and learned early and well how to prey on the weak and aged.
I met Tyson when he was 13 years old. He had been arrested 38 times. His MO was to stand outside of a supermarket, offer to take an old lady's groceries back to the projects, get the old lady in the elevator, knock her out, and steal her pocketbook.
The state sent him to reform school near the upstate town of Catskill. It was there that Mike's ring talent was spotted by the legendary boxing trainer Cus D'Amato.
I think that Cus, who had been Floyd Patterson's manager, and Patterson had been knocked out twice by Liston. When he saw Mike at 13, he decided that he had his Liston finally, and he was so desperate to have one more champion that he was afraid to discipline Tyson.
Cus saw his last stand. This was his last chance to get back to the big time. And Teddy Atlas, who was the head trainer at that time, told me that over and over, Cus would bend the rules for Mike Tyson.
In school, he started having problems with discipline. There were incidents where he was putting his hands on people in school, young people, young girls. More and more, Cus would say less. And Tyson recognized it, and he understood what he could get away with.
There was another time where they were all eating at the table, and Tyson took more food than he was supposed to take, and somebody remarked about it. It just wasn't fair. And Cus said, you let him eat as much as he wants. And again, the same message was out there that he's different. The rules didn't apply to Mike Tyson even when he was 15.
After D'Amato died of pneumonia in 1985, Tyson's co-manager Jimmy Jacobs conducted his rise to the title. But Jacobs' death 2 years later left the 21-year-old champ vulnerable in a world of predators.
One arm is being tugged this way, one arm is being tugged that way. And you're concerned with being a fighter and being an athlete and training and all of the rest. And in the meantime, there are people all around you, like buzzards, trying to extricate money, and you're not equipped to handle it.
His wife and mother-in-law kind of moved in, and this sorry soap opera began. From that point on, what little semblance of order was in his life, it was over.
In June of 1988, Mike Tyson began to show an abusive side. Stories of barroom brawls surfaced in New York tabloids. In September, he crashed his BMW into a tree, fueling speculation of an attempted suicide. Later that month, his marriage to Robin Givens and what went on behind closed doors was center stage.
Does he hit you?
He shakes, he pushes, he swings.
I think there are secrets and weaknesses deep in Mike's unconscious that he never faced. That was a sign that Mike had a character defect.
I always try to figure out where he was in his own life away from the ring. And that would tell me as much as I needed to know about what would happen inside the ring.
Exactly 2 years after Buster Douglas, a 42-to-1 long shot, had taken his belt, Tyson was convicted of raping Desiree Washington, a Miss Black America beauty contestant.
Anything to say at all, Mike?
I'm innocent.
It was maybe the most poorly defended case I had ever seen. He had a tax attorney represent him in a rape case.
Mike Tyson is the guy who put in amateurs or semi-pros in his corner because he didn't want to have real professionals saying no to him. Mike Tyson is the guy who did in Mike Tyson.
Things as hideous as rapes
are Mike Tyson's way of declaring emotional bankruptcy. I can't deal with life. I can't take care of myself. You know, here, take care of me. Take me somewhere.
Convicted on all counts, Mike Tyson was sentenced to prison. 3 years later, he was released back into a world that offered little support.
He hasn't straightened anything out. If anything, he's getting more confused.
You know, it's funny, Mike was having his best
He did it again. He did it again. Mike Tyson has Evander Holyfield for the second time. It's over. It's over.
And it's a profoundly sad story. Mike Tyson had an opportunity to be really one of the landmark athletes of the 20th century, but he was incapable of handling it, and that's the tragedy.
Great point. We look forward now. Mike Tyson is the WBC's mandatory challenger, which could push a Louis Rockmont rematch into the background somewhere. Another loser in this could be David Izon, who just signed to fight Tyson in June, but Tyson advisor Shelley Finkel says that deal included a clause allowing Tyson to pull out. Finkel adds the status of that bout should be known by week's end, adding, quote, "I'm not sure that legally Rockmont can fight anyone before taking on Tyson."
And because it just wouldn't be boxing if there wasn't a goodly amount of confusion over who the new champ fights next. There is some goodly confusion over who the new champ fights next. Yeah, there's a rematch clause in Rockman's contract with Lewis, but Mike Tyson's promoter, Shelley Finkel, says his client gets first licks because Rockman must make a defense against the #1 ranked WBC contender, and that's Mike Tyson.
So who's next for the champ? Well, Mike Tyson's people say Lennox Lewis should get a rematch with Rockman, but not until the WBC's #1 contender gets his shot. And guess who that is? Rockman wants Iron Mike as well, but Tyson's supposed to fight David Izon in D.C. June 2nd, right?
June 2nd. You're on schedule to fight David Izon. Is that fight going to happen?
No, I don't think that fight's going to happen.
If you had a choice, would you make that fight?
No. I mean, I'm going to fight Rockman for the title.
How quickly do you think that fight between you and Rockman will take place?
I don't know. I'm going to be champion of the world again. I never saw the Lennox Lewis fight materializing. That wasn't realistic to me. People always talked about it, but it wasn't realistic. I never thought about fighting. I talked a lot of talk and played the play, but I just wanted them to know that there's no one scared of you. And you're not no big demigod like you thought you were.
And while Holyfield, Ruiz, and Rockman are involved in the Beijing battle, Mike Tyson is not, and he's filed a lawsuit because of it. Tyson sued Don King in federal court in New York today, saying, as the #1 WBC contender, he has a legal right to a title bout. Tyson is seeking $75 million in damages.
Rockman and John Ruiz, heavyweight title holders, but Mike Tyson still holds the purse strings, in part because Tyson, unlike any other heavyweight in this world, holds the public's attention. He's going to turn 35 later this month, and come November, it'll be 15 years since he won his first heavyweight belt. It's hard not to wonder what could have been. And in part one of his conversation, Max Kellerman finds out even Tyson wonders about his journey.
I made a lot of mistakes when I was a young kid, and that was a pretty brutal experience for me, being in prison. But I met some interesting people, and I took everything I had in that particular incident and just made happiness out of that. You know what I mean? Because you just gotta deal with it. You know what I mean? Well, who's gonna cry? Who's gonna listen to me cry?
You mentioned to me earlier that you don't even like the guy that you were 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and you think you're still paying for the mistakes you made as a younger person, and you're a different person now.
Yeah, of course, you know, if I'm young, 19 years old, and I have a lot of money, and I come from an abrupt environment, of course, I'm gonna show my butt off a little, yeah. I'm gonna make a fool of myself, which I did. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. I think about it now, I even tremble, but it happened. There's nothing you can do about it. And, you know, I pay for it. Of course I do, because I'm Mike, and I come across as being ominous. It's my whole aura is ominous. The way I come across, my black robes, my black socks, my black shoes. Everything about me. People look at that, and they're sometimes intimidated of that. They say I try to intimidate somebody. I must get a good response, because I get the response of intimidated people.
It's been torture. It's been pure hell. It's been worse than anything I could possibly imagine.
You think she loved you?
Robin Givens was married to Mike Tyson, which wasn't a picnic. It was like Friday the 13th, right? That was just a bad experience for me emotionally. I never really, after that point, I didn't even really thought about no woman and no love situation. I got a real eerie feeling about that.
One that played name association with you, Don King.
Don King, God, is a pig. Deplorable. It's real bad.
Customato.
Customato. God, I don't know. I don't understand why he died so soon. It's like I've been with him since I was 12, 13, and I died in that's like 6 years. Not 6 years, 7 years, but he died so quick. It happened. The 6, 7 years that went by so quick, and he died just so rapidly. He aged old, and he has had a lot to teach me. And I really believe that he was real fond of me. In fact, that in the position of actually loving me, and it just it sucks.
Do you think it would have been different had Cuss been around, and how would it have been different?
Yeah, it would have been a lot different. Cuss, I was very respectful towards Cuss. Cuss always said I had the aptitude. You know what I mean? I had the aptitude. Because really, I was just a tough guy to being frightened. You know what I mean? That just made me intensify because I was always frightened and afraid of losing and afraid of letting Cuss down. Until recently, it's been difficult for me to be very respectful and be very accepting anyone else as far as not a role model, but somebody that would set a good example for me, because I'm very, I don't know, I'm sinister sometimes, and sometimes I can be, I don't know, irritant.
You think he had more to teach you still?
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow at 6, part 2 of the conversation, Tyson talks about his best chance to reclaim his titles, fighting Lennox Lewis and the mess that stands in the way.
More heavyweight news now. Iron Mike, when is he getting back in the ring? Might have seen it, Dan Rayfield in USA Today. Had it September 8th, Copenhagen, Denmark. We talked to Shelley Finkel, who is ringside at our fights tonight. Says it's a possibility. Why, Brian Nielsen, is this a good fight to come back with?
For Mike Tyson, Brian Nielsen, I mean, you know,
Well,
you want to
get... It's a good fight, but it's a good fight for a fan to watch.
Well, sure, no. Well, yes, if you want to do the Mike Tyson show, which is from the old days, he storms out, knocks the other guy out in 1 round. I didn't see Tyson Douglas live because at the time I was thinking, do I really want to see Mike Tyson knock out a guy in a round? I went out. I was in high school. Someone told me later on that Douglas knocked Tyson out. I didn't believe him. But Brian Nielsen has no shot against Mike Tyson. This is just an easy way to get paid and make Mike look good at the same time.
He's got to get active, though. I mean, he's got to start fighting, get ready, get himself back in there. So if there is a fight with Lennox or with Rockman, then he's ready to go.
And why not pick up a bunch of $1 million for beating up Brian
Fight
Nielsen?
every time he gets out there.
Mike Tyson says he did not rape a 50-year-old woman 2 weeks ago in California. The woman says she was sexually assaulted by Tyson on July 16th at a Big Bear City home he rented during training. Tyson made his first public comments today about those accusations.
I just basically concentrate on what I have to do. I'm just looking forward to recapturing the heavyweight championship, and everything in the long run to prove that I'm innocent, and I'm just looking forward to that, but I'm not sweating that at all.
Police are investigating but have not interviewed Tyson, who was convicted of rape in Indiana in 1992 and served 3 years in prison.
Tonight on Up Close Primetime, the most controversial man in sports on his peculiar attraction.
Nobody rakes in the ratings or rakes in the money like me.
Tyson. All tonight on Up Close Primetime.
Welcome to Up Close Primetime. I'm Roy Firestone. Well, after the scuffle between Lennox Lewis and Hasim Rahman at Up Close last week, you might think that all has been quiet on the Mike Tyson front. Hardly. Tyson had his fight in Denmark postponed due to his back spasms. And earlier, after a lengthy investigation, prosecutors in California declined to file rape charges against Mike Tyson due to lack of sufficient evidence. It's been about a year since Mike Tyson last fought, and he's anxious to get back into the ring and do what he does best. Do you have something to prove to yourself, Mike, at this point of your life?
Not really. It's just that I just want to continue doing the sport that I enjoy doing. I just want to start enjoying it.
You said you don't want stardom. You've told many people you don't want superstardom. You want to be the underdog.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to be an underdog. I mean,
if you fought Lewis or you fought Rahman, there were a lot of people who said you couldn't win that fight.
That's just give me another obstacle to climb. You know, I mean, I'm used to people saying what I can and can't do, and I'm still here. And it's ironic that you say that because those guys, they have to fight because nobody can make any money without me. And that's just so mundane that regardless of how much they talk about me and sometimes belittle my skills, to belittle what I'm capable of doing. Nobody rakes in the ratings or rakes in the money like me.
Why? Why do you think? You're a warrior. You've been a warrior for a lot of times, but I have a theory that more than anything else, it's the unpredictability. You know, when people come see a show, they don't know what's going to happen.
I'm the hottest show in the world. Everybody wants to see.
Do you always have a pretty good idea what's going to happen? In other words, not just the wins and the losses. Do you know, you had any indication, for example, of what happened in Vegas with Holyfield could have happened? Were you feeling that down, or something could have snapped?
Well, hopefully that'll never happen again, but I was just in a different frame of mind as far as myself and as far as my opinion about Holyfield and my opinion about what he did the first fight. And I just wasn't in a disciplined state of mind.
Let's talk about Holyfield for a second. He's maybe not the draw he might have been 2 or 3 years ago, but there's still an audience out there who would be very interested in seeing Holyfield Tyson 3. Are you interested?
Yeah, if he's associated with Don King. If he's not associated with Don King, I'd love to fight him again.
There's still a Don King problem for you.
Yeah.
He says he's got no problems with you. He says it's people whispering in Mike's ear. That's the only problem he has with me.
Really?
That's what he said.
Okay, but we won't talk about that anymore.
Oh, let me ask you one more question about Don. Do you feel that if the money could be put on the table, you could ever make peace with somebody like Don King?
I don't know. Anything's possible when money's concerned. You never know.
All right. Hasim Rahman, he knocked Lennox Lewis cold, and I mean cold, in South Africa. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to do it, but, you know, I don't know if Lennox came prepared. He was doing a movie, I believe, or something.
Ocean's 11,
yeah.
he was filming, yeah.
They asked me to do that movie with him. I was supposed to do that movie with him, but I didn't want to do the movie.
Right.
Yeah. It was very difficult for me to do the movie with a guy one day I met at the fight.
You've said many things about Lennox Lewis. Some of them you were saying half facetiously, sometimes I think drumming up a little support for the action.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
How much of that stuff is just pure hype, and how much of it is real dislike for Lennox Lewis?
I have no dislike for him at all. I was just talking, and we just two competitive people just talking about one another. I'm sure whatever he says about me, he really truly doesn't mean it. That's just how fighters talk.
Do you have any concern in the ring with him, should it come to that? Should the two of you meet, you like your style against his style?
I have all concerns against anyone I fight, but I'm very confident I'm going to be successful.
First, I'm going to ask you a two-part question. What do you fear most in life? And then what do you fear most in the ring? First, life.
Oh, God, I don't know. I just don't see anything. I just don't see anything happening to me. I just feel good about myself. I don't see anything negative destroying me. I just put me at that angle where I'm just vulnerable. I just feel good about myself, regardless of whatever happens.
You ever fear being knocked unconscious and going into a coma in the ring?
That's just the choice I chose. No one put a gun in my head and said, this is what you have to do. That's just the line of work I chose.
You once told me, and this is going back many years, this is probably when you were 22, that they'd have to take you, they would have to take you dead out of the ring till there was a fight.
Well, I just always had the frame of mind, if anybody's going to do the killing, I'm going to be the one to do the killing. No one's going to kill me.
Here's a question. When kids come up to you and they say, man, I'm going to be tough like Mike, I'm going to kick ass, you know what I mean? What do you say to them? Have you changed in what you'd say to them?
I can't believe that these kids are young and they quote me from what things I said when I was 19 or 20. And it really set an impression on them. And a lot of times I feel bad I ever said that, because really I don't realize who's listening. The people that I think that listen are probably older guys, and they're not going to take what I say serious. So
you fear that what you might have said early in your life to kids might have been impressionable negatively?
Oh, extremely impressionable negatively, yes. Very negative.
How about people say, you know what, I'll serve time if I have to. Mike served time. Look at him. He's still got a shot at the championship. I'm not afraid of the prison. I'm not afraid of anything. Let them take me on.
That's just really disgusting the way our society. We live in a wild society.
A lot of people would say, hear Mike Tyson say, we live in a wild society, saying, huh, listen to this guy. We live in a wild society. Look at all he's done in his life. Have you changed in your life and your assessment of the world?
Just as time goes on, you realize you made a great deal of mistakes in your life, and you didn't go the right direction, which you planned on. You realize things. At 34, I don't think the same way I think at 24. You just don't. You have different responsibilities. You have different commitments. You have different cares. You just don't think the same.
What's your #1 greatest regret? What, if you could take it all back, if you could do it all over again, would you have done differently?
I don't know. I would have just, I would have been a better kid to my mother. I would have been just a better kid. I wouldn't have been in the streets as much.
If there's one thing left to claim, in my opinion, I think it's your own dignity, your sense of dignity. Where others might scoff and ridicule you at times, some even call you a freak show, and you've heard that too. Proving to yourself that you have dignity could be your biggest victory. Tell me about that.
Me as an individual, when I stand strong. And by being that way, people, I demand people to respect me. I don't care what anyone says behind my back or what anyone thinks about me, but in their presence, when I'm in their presence, I demand they treat me with the most respect that they're capable of showing.
When we come back, Iron Mike on glory, fame, and the out-of-control intoxication of all of it.
It was reckless at the time because it's like taking a drug. I'm high, but I said, no, I want to get higher. It has to be something more than this.
As Up Close Primetime continues.
Welcome back. Mike Tyson has had more than his share of turmoil in his career. He's been suffering from depression since childhood. Boxing is an outlet as much as it is a vocation for him. He's enjoyed the highest highs. He's endured the lowest lows. When you've been the highest of your high in the ring as a champion, beating Trevor Berbick, tell me about the exhilaration, the glory, the reaching the goal, the youngest heavyweight champion of the world at that point, at 20 years old.
I don't know. It was reckless at the time because it's like taking a drug. I'm high, but I said, no, I want to get higher. It has to be something more than this.
How low have you felt?
I felt I've been as low as any man could ever have been. It's just I think naturally I'm like that. I'm not a happy type of guy. Not whoa, ho, 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 and this is a great day. I've never been that kind of guy. I always wanted to be that kind of guy, but that wasn't real to me.
Well, I asked you for the lowest of the low. Do you remember, was it serving time? Was it a defeat? Was it the Douglas defeat? What was the feeling when you said, I have really hit the bottom? I've hit as low as I could be.
It could have been my incarceration. I was really feeling low then. But I didn't have, because I wasn't a really friendly guy. I wasn't a really nice guy when I was in that place. And that was a real low point in my life.
Some have characterized your state as a depressed state. You'd suffered from depression, and you've been combating it for some time, too.
You know, Roy, I've been depressed all my life. And I guess since the last 4 or 5 years ago, it became a big issue about depression. But I've been that way all my life. I've been depressed all my life. And I never really know, you know, I mean, now they say, well, he doesn't have a correct amount of serotonin flowing through his brains, but I've never understood the progress of that. And that's just how I've been all my life. And I can't take a situation that I've been dealing with all my life, and all of a sudden someone found a name for it or a word for it, and then they throw it in my face, and then they make it as if I'm a villain because I've been that way.
You know, I've seen you in a lot of different modes over the last 14 or so years. I've seen you joyful, I've seen you playful, I've seen you suspicious, I've seen you paranoid. Sometimes I think there are dozens of personalities.
I don't know, I have multiple personalities. Just for certain situations, I become a certain individual. I may have a defense mechanism or something, but I don't know if I have so many different personalities. I'm sure no one's the same person you see every day. It depends on the situation.
But when you came home to your wife and you weren't in the right mood, did she think there was somebody different coming home? Maybe after a fight, maybe before a fight?
I don't know, that's different because my wife doesn't allow me to be, she doesn't allow me to be anyone else. Unless, you know what I mean? I don't know, she has a different relationship with me than anyone else.
Like, what do you mean by that?
She won't stand for a certain personality in the household. Yes, I'm gonna be this way, that's the way I'm gonna be. She won't stand for it.
Are you controlled by your wife?
I don't think I'm controlled, but I just, there's certain things in the household that just have to be stable.
I want to get some one-liners from you.
Okay.
Just tell me what you think. Give me just what first comes to your mind. Love and marriage.
Love and marriage. When you're involved with love, you got to be careful because love is like a switch. It goes off and on sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't last forever. But marriage, when you marry somebody and find somebody to marry, you should pick someone that you married like you pick your best friend.
Infidelity.
It's been around since the beginning of time. You see what happened with Gary Condit? What's that guy's name?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, man, but yeah, it's like that.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. It's just tricky.
What's respect to you? Define respect.
Respect, it's an entity that's more important and stronger than love. That's what I believe. To respect somebody, you know, you can have love for somebody and you can betray them, but out of respect, you can never betray anyone or hurt anyone. It's out of respect for them alone.
Why should we, I say we, I'm talking about the public, people who do love you and admire you, people who did follow your career. Why should they root for Mike Tyson again? Why should they give up their heart for Mike Tyson when he enters the ring?
I don't know why they do it anyway. I never knew why they did it.
You had something, Mike, obviously.
But they continue to do it, so I guess, I don't know. That's for them to answer that question. I can't answer the question for them. The public in general. I mean, I walk the street right now, it's just crazy. I don't understand it either, but just, do you know I can't talk for me to go to a foreign country? Because people think I'm a superstar, like a rock star and stuff. And that's hard for me to take in because I'm a pretty average Joe kind of guy.
Last question. Will you be the heavyweight champion of the world again?
Yes.
News first on Mike Tyson. Second time this year, Mike Tyson is being accused of rape. No charges were filed, though, in the first case. And earlier this week, Las Vegas police searched Tyson's home, the home next to Wayne Newton's in Las Vegas, at one point surrounded by a SWAT team to serve the warrant to the former heavyweight champion of the world. And police said they needed to do so because of the walls surrounding the mansion. According to a source in the Las Vegas DA office, Tyson's accuser knew Tyson previously. Police say she is credible in her information, but again, no charges have been filed as of yet. Tyson was said to be cooperative.
Boxer Mike Tyson back in the news. He was reportedly involved in a heated exchange with members of the media in a hotel lobby. The incident, or the alleged incident, I should say, happened in Cuba. The former heavyweight champ was there as part of a trip to the Caribbean. Witnesses say he was furious to see journalists waiting for him as he got out of the elevator. He reportedly shouted and tossed crystal balls at them and then lightly punched a cameraman in the head.